Hello everyone, and welcome to video 2 of my card counting journey. This episode features the beautiful city of Blackhawk, Colorado. I recently was granted a long-term vacation from my employer, so my dad and I decided to take a week-long trip to Colorado. We were staying in Blackhawk for 2 nights of the trip, and I was excited to be in an area with so many casinos packed together. This was quite the change from my usual hour drive just to reach one casino. There are around 7 casinos with Blackjack, all within a very small distance of each other, so I wanted to enact a strategy where I was bouncing around frequently to not become too recognizable at one place. The day before we were staying in Blackhawk, we decided to drive out from Denver to check it out. During the scouting trip, I decided to check out the Ameristar Casino. I played for about 30 minutes and got footage at the table, but it mainly looked like this. I did experience my first ever losing session as a counter though. Woohoo! I bought in for $400 and lost it all in about 30 minutes of play. So yippee on my first losing session, I guess. After losing my initial buy-in, I decided to call it a day and come back tomorrow fresh. Day 1 started and I was ready to hit the ground running. I decided to start at the Horseshoe and work my way up the street. All Blackhawk rules are decently similar. The tables range from $5 minimum up to $15 for the shoe games. Dealer hits on a soft 17, and penetration better than 4.5 out of 6 decks. If the dealer was cutting off more than that, I would just go find a new table. I'd been playing here for about 30 minutes now and was already up $750. I had just won 4 bets in a row at a true 3. This hand ended the streak with a push, but still better than a loss. Dealer has an ace-up card and I was right under a true 3, so no insurance deviation. Ends up turning into a nice $150 win. Here's the rough bet spread I will be using this trip. Under a true 1, I will be betting table minimum. Then each true count, I will add $50 up until a true 5, where I hit my max bet of $300. I didn't know it at the time, but this hand was about to set a new record for my card counting career. A 10 against dealer 3 calls for a double, so I have $600 riding on this bet. Oof! You can't quite see the last card, but the dealer pulls a 6 card 21. This hand sets the new record for my most money lost on a single hand. I decided to color up after this hand, booking a $302 win, but I couldn't help thinking of the what ifs. Instead of losing this hand, what if I had won? Instead of losing $600 and only making $302 on the session, I would have won $600 plus my bet and won over $1,500 this session. A $1,200 swing all from one hand. After setting my new losing record, I went and played a session at Bally's North where I lost $222, but nothing substantial really happened. I went back to the hotel room to take a break and free up some camera space, and my dad decided to join me on my journey for my next session. He had never played Blackjack before, so he wanted to see what it was like. Plus, I was trying to recruit him to be my new BP. Here's what he said about his $20 buy-in.
What am I doing? That's a pizza right there. Case of beer. Well, now what do I do?
Now you wait for your cards. And I got an ace, so I can get a blackjack. And
Stand.
look at that, I just made 15 bucks. I'm so good at this game.
So now what happened to me? Did
Now
I lose?
she has to draw, and hopefully she busts.
So I got a 16, and I went over 21.
So you just made 10 bucks.
So that means you have a half of
So
the
then,
pizza.
so then I can keep this and then
You
put
can
this.
keep those to the side, and that's
Nice,
your...
I just made money. I made money.
Oh, great.
Nice.
He's gonna get addicted.
I've always wondered what this was like.
Now you got a 17.
You always stand on 17, so you do your
Okay,
wave.
So do the wave.
Okay, so
And I should stand at 14, she's got a 2.
I got
and that's kind of bad.
I got a 16 and I lost it again.
You made 10 more bucks.
Hey, you double your pizza now.
All right, well then color me up, and I'll leave you alone.
After winning 2 of his first 3 hands, he left the table up $10. Congrats on the big win, Pops. One issue I kept running into this trip was my camera storage kept filling up. I only have enough storage to record about an hour at a time, so when I was playing some of these longer sessions, I would miss anything after the hour mark. I kept having to go back and transfer the videos to my computer in the hotel room. It wasn't an ideal setup, and I ended up missing some big hands this trip, which kinda sucks. I'll show some $50 hands here, despite these not being the money makers this session. Soft 18 is a commonly misplayed hand by blackjack players. Remember to always hit your soft 18s against a dealer 9, 10, and ace. Although it didn't really matter on this hand. One too short. 19 against the dealer 20. Streak together some nice hands here, but it ends on this dealer 21. I made $702 this session in 90 minutes, making me up $380 so far this trip. I went to bed a happy counter with the feeling of being up so far. Sadly, I didn't know how things were about to take a turn for the worse. I woke up on day 2 with 2 goals in mind. Get as much time in, and I kind of wanted to get backed off. Up to this point in my card counting career, I had been playing vigilantly. When I'm playing close to home, I don't want to burn down my local casinos, so I might cut my sessions short so I don't get burned. Out here in a place I likely won't come back to anytime soon, I can play as recklessly as possible. I kind of wanted to get backed off because honestly, I feel like it's a rite of passage. I had all this in the back of my mind when I started playing on day 2. Hands like 14 are scary at a high count. Boom, sometimes you hit just what you need though.
These are my lucky greens. Let's go on a streak with them.
Sadly, I wasn't able to streak together any winning hands. This session, it felt like I would win one hand, lose the next 2.
Baby card? Nope. Let's go bump it down to 10.
This wraps up how the day was going perfectly. The count dwindled down to a running 1, so I bet $10, and of course, this is the hand that I win. In my first 30 minutes of play on day 2, I had already lost $200. I decided to try my luck at the Bally's West double deck table. This was a $15 minimum table, and they were dealing 1 1/4 of the 2 decks. Definitely one of the best tables in Blackhawk in terms of EV. This is the first time I had played a pitch game where you actually touch the cards, so I may have been a little bit awkward in some of my motions. 11 against the dealer 9 doubles. They deal it face down. Dealer pulls an 18, so I'm hoping for a 7 or higher, and 6. 1 too short. Count up to a running 4, which calls for a $50 bet.
That's a good start.
Spike the blackjack right when I up my bet, which always feels nice.
I think so, yeah. My math is right.
That's a nice $75 win.
Okay, now we start streaking these reds.
I'm actually starting to streak some hands together here for the first time in what feels like forever. As soon as I say that, dealer gets an ace up card. I check my cards here and see 2 small cards, which changes the count to a running 6, which calls for the insurance deviation. Nobody home, so minus $25.
I kind of wanted you to have it, to be honest.
Dealer has an 8 under, so we push.
Lucky red chips. They haven't lost yet, technically.
Day 2 got off to a really rough start. I just couldn't seem to string winning hands together. My camera storage filled up, but on my 3rd session, I lost $850 on a $5 minimum table. Let me repeat myself for the people in the back. I lost $850 in 30 minutes at a $5 minimum table. That's just unreal. I went from being up $380 on the trip to now down $791 in just 90 minutes of play. These losses really took a toll on me. Sure, knowing the math helps. Losses will happen, wins will happen. The wins will eventually outweigh the losses. But feeling the losses in the moment is tough. I know I'm playing at smaller stakes than some other blackjack channels out there, but all this money is my money. I'm not part of some team with a shared bankroll. I don't have investors backing me. This is all my money. After these losing sessions, I took some time to clear up my thoughts and clear some space on my camera. My dad and I went to the hotel buffet and got some yummy food, then went to the pool and chilled for a while. I knew I only had one more night here though, so I was itching to go back out there. $791, I could make that back. I was ready to claw my way back to even. I decided to head back to the Horseshoe, the one casino I was up money so far this trip. And I lost $300 in 30 minutes. Now back to the lodge where they have a better game. I decided I just wanted to play Double Deck the rest of the trip. I still can't quite pinpoint why I like it more, but Double Deck pitch games just felt better. Maybe it's the faster pace, maybe I felt more connected if I was touching the cards, but it was just nicer to play. Had a 13 against the dealer 4, and dealer ends up busting, another $100 closer to even. Now a 19 against the dealer 10. Kind of a scary hand if they have a 10 under, it's just an instant loss.
I'm happy with the 7.
But dealer flips a 6 into the bust. Another 100. We're slowly clawing back. I won back-to-back $100 hands here, which was pretty much all my profit this session. I decided to get up and play the lower minimum double deck game at Bally's. My camera storage was full, so I wasn't able to get this next part on camera, which I'm very sad about, so I will do my best to recreate it using clip art. I sat down at the $15 double deck table at Bally's. This place was the lowest minimum double deck table around, so I decided to just blatantly play it to hopefully get some money back. I bought in for $300, which sadly didn't last very long. My stack quickly depleted, so I bought in for $300 more. The count jumps around quickly in double deck games, so I was able to get many big bets out. I got my stack up to around $1,000 of chips in front of me. At this point, I noticed that the pit boss was staring at me the entire time. Every time I would look up, he was staring daggers right at me. I felt like an immovable object, so I just kept sitting there putting my bets out. At one point in between hands, I started to put a $150 bet out, and the pit boss walks up behind the dealer and says, "Shuffle." My brain was racing on my next course of action, and I decided to take the route of saying, "Oh, we're shuffling?" and pull my bet back. The pit boss proceeds to lean over the table right in front of another guy, points at me, and says, "Don't come back to Bally's." I say, "Okay," get up, cash my chips, and leave. I just experienced my first back off, and I am on cloud 9 as I walk back to the hotel room to transfer my files. I'm still bummed I didn't get it on video, but I'm sure there will be plenty more of those to come by. I retell the story to my dad, and as I'm telling him, I realize I still had $200 in chips in my pocket that I forgot to cash out. I had to have him go back and cash them for me. I ended up making $672 during this session, so I'm now only down $244 on the trip. I know this isn't how you're supposed to think about it, but I just really wanted to get even on the trip. I didn't want my first official card counting trip to end in the red. I decided to play one final session at the lodge, win or lose. I won a couple smaller hands in the beginning of the session, so now I was only down $157. I was slowly clawing my way back to even. I looked down to see 2 small cards against the dealer 2. I hit until 13, getting 2 more small cards. The count is now a running 4, meaning a true 2. Dealer eventually busts, and I'm $25 closer to even. That true 2 count calls for me to up my bet from $25 up to $100. I have this sinking feeling in my stomach that the next big hand will make or break my whole trip. Next hand. I look down and see 7s against a dealer 3. You split 7s up until a dealer 7, so my $100 bet is now a $200 bet. I get dealt a third 7. Now I know. Either way, this will be my last hand of the trip. $300 hand. First 7 gets a 10 for 17. Stand. Second 7 gets a 4. I have to double. $400 hand. Third 7 gets another 4. I have to double again. $500 hand. I didn't even have enough money on the table. I had to pull out a $100 bill from my pocket to fund this final double. My heart is racing. I couldn't help think about the $600 hand I had lost yesterday and how that had a $1,200 swing on things. If I win this hand, I'm officially up money on the trip. But if I lose, I'm down over $600 and my first card counting trip will end in a loss. Dealer has a 3 and I'm praying to the blackjack gods for a bust to make things easy. Boom! Dealer bust! I'm ecstatic. I was so ready to be done and call this a trip officially up money. The lady to my left starts saying hit and run as I color up after this big hand, but I am so happy to be in the green on the trip. Let's go over the numbers for this trip. I played 11 sessions, totaling 8.5 hours played. I had 6 losing sessions and 5 winning sessions. My biggest loss was $850.50, and my biggest win was the one where I played with my dad and won $702. I ended up making $368 this trip, which for 8.5 hours of work isn't too bad. If you would calculate expenses into this, like hotel costs and Gucci swimming trunks for the pool, then I would technically have lost money. But with the memories made and bonding time with my dad definitely made this trip worth it. Thanks for watching episode 2 of my card counting journey. I hope you enjoyed. This is Frog, signing off. For now.